gave her everything, not just love, attention, presence, pieces of yourself you never shared with anyone. And when it ended, you didn't ask for much. Just a sign, a ripple, something to prove it all meant something. But there was nothing, no message, no call, no closure, just silence. And the silence you thought would make her wonder only made you question everything. Because silence doesn't haunt the one who's done. It haunts the one still hoping it might not be over. You've been silent, not because you've healed, but because you hoped the silence would speak for you. That maybe, if you said nothing, she would finally say something. But she didn't, and now you're left wondering what it means. What? You mean this video is for the man who's tired of waiting, tired of the games, tired of tying his value to someone else's reaction? We'll break down why her silence isn't rejection, and why your silence isn't weakness. It's a turning point, a return to clarity, a return to you. Number 1, silence isn't a strategy. It's a mirror. The silence you give to her becomes the voice you hear inside yourself. You went quiet, not because you were at peace, but because you didn't know what else to say. You hoped the silence would shake her, make her feel your absence, make her wonder. But if you're honest, you weren't trying to disappear. You were hoping she'd come find you in the silence. And when she didn't, when the phone stayed quiet, when her name never lit up your screen, you started to feel something else, something louder than her voice ever was. You started to hear your own, not the voice you show the world, not the strong, logical, composed version of you. No, the voice beneath all that, the one that whispers in the dark. Was I not enough? Did I mean anything at all? Why didn't she come after me? This is where most men get stuck, right here, in the echo of their own silence. You think you're being stoic, detached, strategic, but you're not playing chess. You're standing in front of a mirror that doesn't lie, because silence, real silence, doesn't manipulate. It reveals, and what it reveals is this: you weren't trying to punish her, you were trying to be seen. You thought if you stopped texting, if you stopped explaining, if you stopped trying, she would notice the void, feel the shift, miss the rhythm of you. But she didn't, and the silence that was supposed to teach her a lesson taught you one instead. You learned that you were still living for her reaction, still hoping for her to validate your pain, still making her the axis your worth spins around. And that is not silence. That's still noise. That's desperation disguised as dignity. Here's what most men don't realize. True silence isn't something you use. It's something you become. It's not a tool to get her back. It's the path to get you back. Because when the noise dies, down the chasing, the proving, the performing, you're left with the one person you've been avoiding all along. Yourself, your unmet wounds, your unspoken fears, your unhealed need to be chosen. And that's the real confrontation. That's the mirror no man wants to look into, because it doesn't show her indifference. It shows your dependency. But here's the shift. When you stop using silence as a weapon and start using it as a sanctuary, everything changes. You stop waiting. You stop hoping. You stop trying to be heard by someone who stopped listening, and you start listening to you. To the man underneath the ache, to the strength underneath the silence, to the self-respect that doesn't beg to be acknowledged. This is where your power begins, not in her response, but in your return to presence, because the Silence was never meant to get her back. It was meant to bring you back. Her silence isn't the answer. My silence is the question I must answer. Number 2, she's not ignoring you. She's done with the story. You're still writing a sequel to a story she already closed the book on. You wonder why she doesn't answer, why the texts go unseen, why your words, once cherished, now vanish into silence. You replay the last message. You think maybe she didn't see it. Maybe she's confused. Maybe she needs time. But what if she's not confused? What if she's not lost or hurting or hesitating? What if she's just done? It's hard to sit with that, because being ignored feels like cruelty, feels like a punishment for loving too deeply. You think, how could someone who knew me so intimately now act like I don't even exist? But here's the brutal, liberating truth. She's not punishing you. She's just finished the story, and you're still reading it, still flipping back through the chapters, rereading the good parts, trying to find where it shifted, trying to rewrite the ending with enough silence, enough space, enough time. But she's not holding the book anymore. She put it down, and that's the part that breaks most men, because we're taught to fix, to wait, to outlast the distance and make sense of the ending. We confuse silence with possibility. We think, if she's not saying anything, maybe there's still a chance. But silence isn't a cliffhanger, it's a closing line. And it doesn't mean she's heartless, it just means she's somewhere else now. Her story has moved on, and you're still trying to pull her back into a plot she no longer feels connected to. This is where the suffering lives, not in the loss itself, but in the refusal to accept the page has turned, in the belief that if you just do the right thing, stay silent, stay present, stay hopeful, she'll come back and finish it with you. But love, real love, requires both people to still be inside the same story, and that's not where she is. It's not because you were unworthy. It's not because she's cruel. It's because something inside her resolved. Long before you were ready for the ending, she saw the last page before you did, and while you're still whispering between lines, hoping to spark one last paragraph, she's already placed the book on the shelf and walked away. So what do you do now? You stop chasing the next chapter. You stop writing lines for someone who's no longer reading. You stop measuring your worth by someone else's closure, because the story isn't over. Yours isn't over. She may have left the plot, but you are still the author of what happens next. And that is where the power returns, when you stop trying to reanimate what's already been buried, when you stop trying to speak into a silence that isn't waiting to respond, when you stop needing to be part of her story to validate your own. This is when peace begins, not because you erased her, not because you've hardened, but because you've accepted what most men never will, that not all stories are meant to last, and not all endings are meant to make sense. She didn't abandon you in silence. She simply stopped reading. She didn't leave me in silence. She left the story we no longer shared. And now, it's time for you to write something new. Number 3, your value isn't measured by her reaction. You keep checking your phone, hoping to feel seen, but you were never invisible to begin with. You wait. You sit in a silence that feels louder than any fight you ever had. You scroll through old texts, searching for a clue, a moment you missed, a shift in tone, something, anything, and deep down, even if you won't say it out loud, you're hoping she'll break the silence first. A message, a late night I miss you, a whisper of regret, anything to tell you that you still matter, that it all wasn't in your head, that you didn't love her more than she ever saw you. You think if she reaches out, it means you're still worthy, still lovable, still seen, because when she left, she didn't just leave you. She left the version of you that felt chosen, wanted, validated. And that's the version you're grieving the most. The man who, in her arms, felt like he was finally enough. Now you feel discarded, like a finished book, like someone she read, enjoyed for a while, then quietly returned to the shelf, never to be picked up again. And it's not the silence that breaks you, it's the meaning you give to it. You treat her silence like a verdict. You think, if she's not coming back, it must mean I wasn't enough. If she doesn't reach out, it must mean I failed. If she doesn't miss me, then maybe I was never truly loved. This is the trap. This is the lie. This is the invisible war men fight alone after heartbreak. You confuse her reaction, or her lack of one, as a reflection of your value. You think her silence is a mirror, but it's not. It's just a closed door. A door she shut, not because you were worthless, but because she was done walking through it, and maybe she couldn't hold space for the depth you offered. Maybe she didn't know how to receive the kind of love you gave, or maybe she simply left, not because you weren't enough, but because she was never capable of being what you needed. That's not rejection, that's misalignment. But here's the hard truth. You gave her the pen and let her write your value. And now that she's gone, you're stuck holding a story that no longer reflects who you really are. So what do? You stop looking at her for reflection. You stop needing her silence to mean something. You stop asking the wrong person to hand you back your worth. Because here's what you must understand. You were whole before her. You are whole after her. You do not become less because she stopped seeing your light. You do not shrink because she chose to walk away. And you sure as hell don't disappear just because she did. Man's worth isn't defined by who claps for him. It's defined by how still he can stand, even when no one is watching. That's the Stoic power. To remain grounded, untouched by praise or silence, needing neither to validate his existence. She no longer sees you. That's her loss, not your measure. She doesn't respond. That's her story, not your failure. She doesn't miss you. That doesn't erase the man you are, the love you gave, the presence you brought. You do not require her attention to be valuable. You never did. So you stop waiting. You stop hoping for a sign. You stop offering your worth up for negotiation. And you begin slowly, quietly, powerfully, to become your own reflection, a man who no longer begs to be seen, because he's already seen himself. My worth is not up for debate in someone else's silence. Let that be your final word. Number 4, love doesn't disappear, attachment does. She didn't take love when she left. She took the part of you that believed you needed her to feel whole. You think you're grieving her, but you're not. Not really. You're grieving the shape your life used to take when she was in it, the morning texts, the little routines, the way your world felt full just because someone was looking back at you. You're not in pain because love disappeared. You're in pain because the comfort did, because the mirror you used to see yourself in is gone now, and you're left staring at a silence that doesn't reflect you back. Let's be honest. You thought it was love, the kind you don't find twice, the kind that keeps you warm in places nothing else can reach. But now, in this stillness, you're starting to realize something deeper, something harder. You're not missing her. You're missing the way being with her made you feel chosen, validated, safe. And it's not wrong to want those things. Every man does, especially when you've built so much around the idea that someone else can complete you. But here's the truth that hurts before it heals. You weren't grieving love. You were grieving attachment, the rituals, the emotional muscle memory, the illusion of certainty in a world that guarantees none. And that attachment, it's powerful. It gives structure to your days, meaning to your plans, a softness to your strength. But attachment isn't love. Attachment is the need to possess what makes you feel alive. Love doesn't demand possession. Love simply is. It flows outward. It's what you gave her, not what she returned. And when she left, she didn't take love with her. She took the role you assigned her, the anchor for your identity, the source of your worth, the emotional mirror that kept telling you who you were. That's what's gone, not the love, the illusion, the dependency, the part of your soul that thought, if she stays, I matter. If she leaves, I'm lost. But you're not lost. You are here, breathing, becoming, learning how to walk without leaning on someone else's presence. This is where the Stoic shift happens. This is where the pain becomes clarity. Because when you finally strip away the need to be chosen, what's left is the man who chooses himself. And that man doesn't need to be seen to feel real. He doesn't need someone else's love to feel lovable. He knows that what he gave was real, and that love never goes to waste even if it isn't returned. Because love was never about what you got. It was about what you had the courage to give, even if it wasn't held the way you hoped. You don't need to hate her to heal. You don't need to erase her to move on. You just need to understand that letting go of attachment doesn't mean love never existed. It means you've outgrown the need for it to define you. So the next time you feel that ache, the pull to go back, the temptation to believe you lost something you can't live without, remember this. This isn't love. It's ego wrapped in regret. And you're not your ego. You're not your past. You're not what walked away. You're what remains. And that is more than enough. Number 5, healing begins when you stop waiting. You weren't waiting for her message. You were waiting for permission to move on. There's a part of you that still checks your phone, even when you tell yourself you won't, even when it's been days, weeks. Even when logic tells you it's over, some part of your heart is still waiting. You open your inbox with a quiet ache. Not because you expect something, but because there's a piece of you that needs it, needs the closure, the apology, the text that says, I miss you, I was wrong, I still think about you. You wait for the message that will make everything feel real, that will validate what you felt, that will prove to you that you mattered. Because it wasn't just a breakup. It was the abrupt disappearance of someone who once made you feel seen. And now, in her absence, you're left with questions that don't answer themselves. You think if she reaches out, you can finally breathe. You think if she calls, the wound will start to close. You think if she shows even a moment of regret, you can stop holding your breath. But here's the thing about waiting. It's a prison you build with your own hands, a cage made of hope, hope for a message that may never come, hope for a version of her that probably never existed. And every day you wait. You don't just pause your life, you pause your healing. You see, healing doesn't happen in the pause, it happens in the movement. It happens the moment you stop needing her voice to give you permission to live again. This is where most men get stuck, not in heartbreak, but in hope. Hope that she'll come back, hope that she'll explain, hope that the story can still be rewritten. But hope, when rooted in something dead, becomes poison. And the longer you wait, the deeper it sinks, until you forget who you were before you started needing someone else's voice to make you feel whole. You weren't always this version of yourself. The man scanning every notification like a starving soul. The man attaching his peace to the vibration of a phone. There was a time before her, before this, when you moved from your own center, when you woke up with clarity, when you knew who you were without needing someone else to tell you. You can return to that man, but only when you stop waiting to be rescued. Only when you realize the apology you want won't heal you. The message you crave won't fix what was broken, because the truth is, if she could heal you, you wouldn't be here right now. So what do? You stop waiting, not because she's undeserving, but because you are undeserving of this pause, this suspended life, this quiet suffering masked as patience. You deserve movement. You deserve clarity. You deserve your own presence more than you ever deserved her return. And yes, it's hard to admit she's not coming back, to accept that there won't be a message, to walk away without a goodbye. But that's where real strength is born. In the silence. In the decision to live without needing someone else to make it okay. This is how healing begins. Not with her words, but with your choice. The choice to stop waiting. The choice to stop begging time to bring her back. The choice to stop sacrificing your peace on the altar of what if. And when you make that choice, truly, deeply, you'll feel something shift, not overnight, not all at once, but slowly, quietly. The breath returns, the weight lifts, the man underneath the ache stands up again. And in that stillness you'll realize, I stopped waiting and started living. Bam. Number 6, your inner power doesn't come from being chosen. You spent years trying to be wanted, not realizing the real strength was learning to want yourself. There's a part of you, maybe small, maybe loud, that still wants her to want. You, even after the silence, even after the distance, even after everything that told you she's not coming back, you still want to be chosen, because there's a boy inside you, still waiting on the edge of the playground, hoping someone calls your name, picks you, says, "You, I want you." And when she walked away, it didn't just hurt your heart. It hit something deeper. It hit that old ache, that quiet belief that maybe if someone chooses you, you'll finally be enough. But here's what no one teaches men. Chasing love to feel valuable is the slowest way to lose yourself. Waiting to be picked is the surest way to forget your power. Because masculine strength, real, grounded, unshakable strength, has nothing to do with being desired and everything to do with standing tall even when no one is watching, even when no one claps, even when the world doesn't notice what you carry. You weren't meant to beg to be seen. You were meant to see yourself. But it's easy to forget that when you're broken, when you're spiraling through memories, when your mind keeps asking questions like, why wasn't I enough? What did he have that I didn't? Why didn't she fight for me? You start comparing, competing with ghosts, looking for cracks in yourself that explain why she walked away. But listen closely. She didn't leave because you were unworthy. She left because she couldn't hold space for who you are, or maybe she never truly saw you to begin with. And maybe, just maybe, she wasn't meant to, because your value was never supposed to come from her recognition. It was supposed to come from your own. You're not the boy waiting to be chosen anymore. You're the man who chooses himself. Every morning, in the silence, in the loneliness, in the strength of not chasing what won't stay. This is where your power is born, in the choice to stop proving and start being rooted, being present, being enough without applause, without attention, without being anyone's first pick. Because the truth is, when you choose yourself, you stop needing the world to do it for you. You stop twisting into shapes just to be wanted. You stop shrinking your truth to fit into someone else's comfort zone. You stop handing your worth to people who haven't earned the right to define it. You become sovereign, grounded, unapologetic. And yeah, people might not notice right away. They might not chase after you. They might not understand the quiet revolution happening inside you. But that's not your job. Your job is to become the man you needed to be when you were still waiting. To stop asking, why didn't she choose me? And start asking, why did I need her to? That's the shift, that's the return, that's the root of every great man who ever learned how to stand alone, not in bitterness, not in pride, but in peace, in full ownership of who he is, who he's becoming, and who he will never chase again. So next time that ache rises, next time you feel the pull to go back, to reach out, to wonder if maybe, just maybe, she'll see you now, take a breath, stand still, and remember, I don't chase, I choose. And today, you choose. You. Number 7, silence is no longer a game. It's your ground. She expected your silence to be a tactic. She never imagined it would become your truth. There was a time when your silence was noise, when every moment you didn't reach out was really a scream she couldn't hear, a desperate whisper, please notice, please miss me, please come back. But that's not what this is anymore. Not now. Now, your silence doesn't come from pain. It comes from peace. A hard-won peace that you didn't find in her arms, but in the quiet after she let go, in the stillness that used to haunt you, in the space where she used to live. You used to be loud in your mind, overthinking, replaying, arguing with ghosts in the dark, trying to win a fight that had already ended, trying to prove something to someone who wasn't listening anymore. But something changed. You stopped needing to be heard by her. You stopped needing her to look back and finally understand what she lost. You stopped trying to be seen and started seeing yourself. This is the silence she never expected, not the one meant to get a reaction, not the one that plays the long game, not a tactic, not a move. This is the kind of silence that grows roots, that holds its ground, that doesn't flinch when she watches from a distance. This is the silence that means, I'm not coming back. Not because you hate her, not because you want her to suffer, but because you're done negotiating your peace. Because silence, when it's real, isn't empty. It's sacred. It's where you rebuild, where you remember, where you return to yourself. She might look back now, scrolling through old pictures, replaying your laughter in her head. She might feel the chill of your absence and wonder why it cuts deeper now than it did when you were still reaching out. But the difference is this: you're not there anymore, not emotionally, not energetically, not in any way that can be touched or pulled back. You didn't just stop texting, you disconnected your soul. And in that detachment, in that quiet, grounded release, you found something more powerful than anything she could have ever given you. You found yourself, and now You walk forward without a trail. You live without the need to be known again. You exist without the echo of her name in your chest. This is the moment where silence becomes not just your stance, but your sanctuary, where your boundaries are not walls built in bitterness, but thresholds to a life where peace is not a privilege, but a non-negotiable. You're not cold, you're not cruel, you're clear. Clear about what you won't entertain anymore. Clear about what you won't beg for again. Clear that if someone wants access to you, it comes through truth, through respect, through presence. No more games, no more waiting, no more bargaining with your own soul to feel wanted, because you finally understand some things are not lost in silence, some things are found. So let her wonder, let her realize. In her own time, what your presence used to mean. Let the silence speak the truth you no longer have to say out loud, because you didn't go silent to punish. You went silent to protect the man you've become, to protect the peace that took so long to build, to protect the ground you now stand on. I walked away in silence, not to prove a point, but to protect my peace, and you haven't looked back since. You were hoping she'd react, to see a flicker in her eyes, a moment of regret, a sign that it all mattered. But instead, you were met with silence, and in that silence, you thought you lost something. Her, the connection, maybe even yourself. But now you see it. That silence didn't break you, it revealed you, it stripped away the noise, the need, the reaching, and left you standing in something far greater than her attention. It left you standing in your own presence. You've stopped begging time to rewind, stopped checking the door to see if she might walk through it again, because you've realized you were never waiting on her, you were waiting on you. And now, here you are, grounded, clear, unmoved, not because you stopped caring, but because you started choosing your peace over your pattern, your self-respect over your story. This is the shift. This is the growth. You are no longer the man who breaks in silence. You are the one who builds in it, because peace isn't found in being chosen. It's found in choosing yourself. And strength. It's not loud, it's not desperate, it's not flashy, it's quiet, it's steady. It's the stillness of a man who no longer chases what walked away. So take this moment, feel it fully, and remember. Final affirmation. I am not who I used to be. Subscribe if you're walking away in silence, not to prove a point, but to protect your peace.